manufacturing plant in its entirety will change the rules of the game and how the home builders in the marketplace interact. So examples of business strategies could be the desire to be in the Walmart space, the low-cost provider. Well, that means you have to align yourself with trades that are, or suppliers that are low-cost suppliers and trades. You have to make sure you're financing with bankers, not the private equity groups. Because banks are giving you money at prime plus 1, private equity groups are giving you money at 12%. If you're a high-value provider, you need to make sure you're aligned with customers. You understand what their needs are. Because the definition of a high-value provider is the one that provides products and services that meet the needs of the client. Not throwing in the hardwoods and the granites if the client doesn't care. You start looking at trades and suppliers that have the ability to work with high standards, not high quality. I'll define quality a little later on, but high standards. People who know how to deal with the new technology that's coming through in entertainment. A high service provider. Again, you become aligned with your customers. You tend to work with clients that are demanding. For example, we go to Costco. Costco minimizes its touches with customers. In fact, they make it really easy. The bag of chips is about 2 stories high if you want to pick it up, right? That's not their definition. You go to Superstore, or you go to, you go to Save On Foods, their idea is to make sure that everything is accessible to you at every step of the way. The aisles are a little bit wider. You've got more variety of product, whereas Costco, you're a little bit more constrained in product pickings. But that being said, Costco still does a great job of servicing the client, because when you get to the till, you process fast. But they don't allow you to use a Visa. That's okay. But they're not a high service provider. Your management model. You could be just a manager. You could be managing the construction for an investor. You could be the intent is you find the project, you use somebody else's money, otherwise known as the OPM model, and you build your business that way. And you make sure that you're passing on, you're just taking a sliver of the profits, you're not taking all the profits, you're passing on as much as you can. Or you could have a socially conscious business. Your driver could be that you want to interact with the community, the government, the industry, and the customers. But these are the important things that you have to know. And it's not any one of these things, it's a combination of these items that define your business. So your stakeholders, at the end of the day, what you have to, when you're starting to look at relationships, is much larger than just your customers. It's much broader than just your employers. It goes into the community and the industry. The fact that you took time today to participate in this event is huge. You're supporting the industry, you're supporting the community. We look at, for example, the sports arena that's occurring. We recognize there's a conflict that's occurring between the Cates Group and the community at large and what the politicians want. That's because they haven't been able to protect the interests of the community as they moved along, or the community engagement doesn't feel as positive or hasn't been as smooth of a process. Your suppliers, your trades, that's another key stakeholder. They're just like your employees. We often tend to forget that as individuals, that as builders, that our trades are really our employees. So when we're talking about, as a home builder, we may have 10 people in our business or in our office, we actually have another 50 that are sitting out there doing all the work for us on a week-to-week basis. Your investors, your financiers, your banks are your best friends and your worst friends. If you keep them happy, they're your best friend. If you don't keep them happy, they're your worst friend. Same thing with your employees, same thing with your trades, same thing with your customers. So when we start looking at relationships, it's very difficult to make sure you're satisfying that whole wheelhouse there. You have to pick and choose who you're going to be. And that's going to come back to your strategy. Because if you're Apple, you actually go out of your way to crush your vendors. If you're Walmart, you go out of your way to crush your vendors. Because you don't make money off of them. You make money off of the consumer goods and your low-cost model in Walmart's case, and for Apple's case, in your marketing arms. So they keep all their marketing arms, their brokerage arms, they keep them happy. That's where they make their money. So you have to pick and choose. And one of the challenges I find, even in our business, is that we try to attack all of these issues. Or every one of us is trying to make every single one of these happen. Exceed at all these fronts. So, the attitude. Coming back to that onion that we're kind of peeling back. This is the first layer that everybody is seeing, or the end stakeholders seeing from us. And the attitude we take will definitely affect the relationship. You have to keep that glass half full. Regardless of the situation, you have to try to keep the glass half full. Because honestly, nobody really wants to hear about your complaints. I was in a grocery line 10 years ago, and my friend had egged me on, and so a couple days earlier, so I was walking through, and the lady said to me, "So how are you doing today?" I said to her, "I'm depressed." Conversation ended. Right? Went to my car, dropped off the stuff, went out, bought something else. Went through another grocery line. She goes, "How are you doing today?" "I'm doing fantastic. How are you doing?" "Good. How are you doing? What are you doing? What's made your day fantastic?" That's the difference your smile can put into the process. If you walk around with your head, shoulders slumped and your head down, that's how people are going to treat you. They're going to treat you like you're old. They're going to treat you like you have nothing positive to say, you have no energy. Appreciate the people you have. It's easy for us to remember what's gone wrong or to tell people what they've done wrong, but have we thanked people what they've done right lately? We all make mistakes, we all forget, but we have to remember that. Constructive, not destructive criticism. This is huge. We're just dealing with a site challenge right now, and we had a 2-hour coaching moment with my team in a different location and saying, how do you deal with somebody who's failing? You have no leverage upon them, you got to get them to go forward. My point was to them, I said, look, they know they failed. If you beat them up, then it ain't going to help. You have to figure out how to help them. How can you help them, and how will they accept your help? Solve your own problems by solving other people's problems. Come back to that example I gave you earlier, where I helped a friend of mine who just moved into a new role. All of a sudden, he's helping me out more than I was helping him out. Be genuine. Sometimes that's really tough. It's really tough to care, actually, about what somebody's saying to you. Because you actually are not interested. That's okay. Find something that you are interested in and talk about that. But be genuine. If people can read on you if you don't care. Admit one's error. That's the largest thing I find that people forget to do. They start playing dodgy, they start running around every which way. If you can just say, yeah, I made a mistake, conversation's over. If the guy continues to beat up on you, move on. But once you've said, yes, I made a mistake, the issue's done, it's put to rest, and you can move forward. This is what the consumer or your investor or your trades or the community, when you're giving a community presentation, is getting involved with. Where would you rather eat? Would you rather eat in the restaurant that has the blenders on the floor, or would you rather eat in a restaurant where the kitchen is clean? Often, when a relationship starts, the expectations and the reality are in alignment. And that occurs because we as individuals get into relationships because we have alignment at the front end. Nobody says, I don't like that person, but I'm going to still hang out with them. Okay? They sit back and they go, I'm in agreement with what they've told me. I've bought what they've sold. But as the relationship starts continuing and it starts getting enriched, we start hitting challenging times. A friend's father may get sick. The market takes a turn. Or somebody fails to meet a deadline. And that's where the reality starts separating from the expectations. How we react to that differential in the expectations and the reality really shapes how the relationship is going to continue forward. So when we look at expectations, Both you and the stakeholder have them. When you meet a client, if you're a custom builder and you meet a client and they say, I'd like to buy your $1 million house, well, the first thing you're going to know, they're going to be demanding. Next thing you know, they're going to, whatever their vision is, you've got to interpret it and put it on the paper. It's usually they don't know what they want. They have an idea. You also know that they're going to expect high standards. So you're going to start making sure you get aligned with vendors that have high standards. You know that they'll pay on time too, and you know that you don't have to worry about your cash. Your vendor, your client, is going to think the same way. This builder has the technology, has the resources, can build it on time, will do whatever it takes to get it done. Time matters to me more than my cost. If there's a disconnect over there, right at that point, there's a problem. We're going to go back into that situation where the expectations and the reality fall apart. Under-promise and over-deliver. We've all heard it, and we all make that mistake. It's as simple as saying, I'm going to call you in an hour, and you call them in 2 hours. You've over-promised and under-delivered. I'll tell you, that's one mistake I often make. Make them clear. Often we don't do that with our clients. We don't do that with our banks. What do you want? Where do you want? The biggest challenge I find is when we sit down with clients and we look through our customer surveys, we see that what the customer expected and what we delivered are different. We gave it to them all in writing. We put a detailed spec in there. We put a detailed condominium book in there. We talked them through it, but clearly there's still a difference in expectation. Either that or we failed to deliver on the promise. Expectations also set boundaries for relationships. I have a consultant that I work with who's actually fired clients. He will clearly tell you in the first meeting, this is what you have to deliver to me as a client. If you do not deliver this to me, we're done. It's different. Not everybody likes him. I love him. He's one of the best in the industry. But you have to meet his expectations. That being said, my expectation is that I'm dealing with one of the best in the industry. And then the written plus verbal is far more powerful than the verbal when setting expectations. For a lot of the builders in the room, that's one of those challenges. Our trades don't want to sign contracts. That's a choice you're making. If you don't get contracts written with employees when you're doing pay raises or pay adjustments, that's the risk you're taking. We don't do it necessarily in every facet. I'm coming back to that comment about lawyers. There's a horse trading component you have to do. If you do everything in written, it'll fall apart. You're not looking for bureaucracy. But when you're doing a performance appraisal with an employee, are you making sure you put it in writing? Or is it a discussion that's happening on the drive to the bar and saying, hey, you buying drinks today? Yes, you did good today. Quality decisions improve with great conversations. It's amazing what happens when you don't talk. Absolutely nothing. In communications, it's not good enough just to talk, but you have to start thinking win-win. Coming back to the bank, looking at the 4 different loan agreements. 3 agreements didn't work for our business. They worked for the bank. They didn't work for our business, what we were trying to achieve. So at the end of the day, there was only one vendor at the table. If the bank sat down and tried to understand our needs and could meet their needs, then there would be a win-win situation that we could drive towards. Same thing happens with our investors. You may have a project that makes sense at 12% return.